Well, it's been a bit longer than we originally anticipated, but 2 months is better than the 2 year gap. Welcome back to Manga Graveyard. I'm Jeremy, one of the guys who's here, and I'm here with my two other awesome guys running this show.
It's me, Pascone. Whoa.
And I, Eddie, the researcher.
And if you remember from the last 2 months, this time we'll be looking at a new exploration into manga from a particularly famous mangaka, Masashi Kishimoto. You might know him from such works as Naruto or Naruto's son, Boruto.
Or Boruto's dad, Naruto.
Yes. But really, I mean, it's kind of big considering that he made one of the most, if not the most, next to maybe I would say Dragon Ball Z influential manga series of all time.
Yeah, and
And yes, anime, whatever, but
this was his work right after that.
so this was his next foray out of the field and giving him a breath of fresh air. And he brings us Samurai 8, Hachimaru Den, or the Tale of Hachimaru.
But
And
he isn't the one drawing it, which is
that's right.
interesting.
I was going to mention he was helped in creating this by a talented artist by the name of Akira Okubo.
Yes. From what I know, I believe Akira Okubo was actually one of Kishimoto's assistants on Naruto when it became big. Because, as we know, when mangaka get like really big, they hire assistants for them to help make sure that the quality keeps up, because it's a very big investment for Shonen Jump. And I will say, having Okubo at the helm on this definitely gave this manga a really good look.
Yeah, the style is interesting, and I have more that I want to get into about the art specifically later on. But one interesting thing I saw in an article was that Kishimoto actually also did the art boards for this. So he was the main, I guess, he wrote the whole thing, and then he decided, all the angles, how things were going to be drawn, and then Okubo went in and did the actual final art.
And this is the first time I've read something where I've been aware of Okubo being kind of like the main work on it, or like rather doing the detailing of all the storyboards, and I was impressed. But we can dig into that as we move on.
Well, if we want, we could do the brief overview of the story for anyone who hasn't had the chance to read it. It is only 43 chapters, so it's not too hard of a read.
Did we want to touch on that interview before we delved into the overall kind of plot run through?
Yeah, Eddie, is that interview? Where does that fit in your?
So this interview is talking about Kishimoto's experiences with Naruto and his new stuff on Hachimaru Den with Samurai 8. It's an interesting read. It sort of goes into why he did this like so vastly different from his previous work. And it's actually interesting. Much like how we covered on Robot X Laserbeam before, he really made this piece, like this manga, because he's a huge fan of both samurai culture and sci-fi stuff. Like, he talks about how Star Wars was a really big influence. We'll get to that in a second, because that becomes very apparent. But he actually talks about how something that's kind of funny coming from the author of Naruto is he talks about how he made Hachimaru really weak to start off with. Like, as you all know, in the beginning, he's very, very weak, like on a life support system. And he says something along the lines of you can't empathize with a perfect hero, so that's why he made him like frail and weak in the beginning, which I find funny because of how Naruto sort of ends with like a reveal where Naruto is like the reincarnation of like a god. So he's basically just the center of the universe.
Funny you should say that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Considering-
I know what we're getting at, but it's oh man. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. I really wish this came up to a little bit more on Okubo, because a new name is really interesting to learn about. But they do talk about how Kishimoto would sort of blueprint things, and Okubo would put his own flair on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it also talks about how Kishimoto's like a parent now,
Oh,
like an actual father, because he's been like he started like Naruto started serializing when he was 24, and this starts serializing when he's 44.
Wow.
God.
Yeah. So that's why in the beginning of Samurai 8, we have such a nice bond between Hachimaru and his dad, which I think was easily one of the best parts.
Yeah, I definitely got emotional when, the dad did, of course, had to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, it now knowing that context, like it really filters through in a very apparent, like he that connection
Mm-hmm.
really, I guess, fuels it in the right way. It comes across as very genuine because it's not like a perfect relationship, but it's a good one.
Mhm. Like, if it was perfect, it wouldn't feel real. But because it's like amazingly imperfect, it's one of the strongest parts of the series.
Yeah, you can relate to the
Absolutely.
shitty little gamer kid that hates his dad. Or it doesn't hate his dad, is mean to his dad
But, like,
sometimes.
Yeah, he's mean to his
But
dad
just
he's like
because...
a shitty kid in a shitty situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's mad at the circumstances, and it comes across as him being abrasive towards his dad, even though it's not actual like
It's
distaste.
teenage angst.
Yes.
And honestly, it's pretty good.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think this interview kind of gave a pretty good insight. Funny enough, I had to go through the Wayback Machine to grab this because it originally on the website it was gone, and I'm like, ho, maybe if I dive into the past.
Into the past, Samurai Jack. Watch on.
I'm about to post something that actually highlights the blueprint stuff into the server. If you guys
Oh.
want to take a look. It's a side by side of one of Kishimoto's like pages and one of Okubo's pages.
Oh, pull that up. Get that on the big screen if possible.
Let me get it up.
Yeah, if you
The
wanna,
image was
if you
sort of
open the
hard to
original,
pull,
so
so I had to screenshot
Yeah,
it.
I got it.
Like the right clicker I am.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you could see.
Yeah, it's really cool to
Wow,
see it side by side.
Kishimoto definitely did a lot of work though. Like it's a pretty detailed storyboard.
Yeah, it's a really like strong skeleton, and then it also goes to show that not only did they follow it to a T to a degree, but their style bleeds through really, um, in a really appealing way.
Yes. I would look forward to see something with Okubo's name on it.
Yes.
Going forward.
So since we're on the topic, and well, I guess I don't want to get ahead of myself because for the people who haven't read this, they might be like, "What sci-fi samurai thing with a weird gamer kid?" Yes. So Samurai 8 is probably one of the most unique worlds I've read through any medium. and it's very strange. So much so that I had no idea what was going on for a lot of it. But it basically takes place, it's a space sci-fi story with samurai, and if you commit seppuku in front of these weird earth eggs things, you might turn into a robotic samurai.
Like an organic robot
Yeah.
type deal.
Yeah, you're a. So the samurai in Samurai 8, which. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of the author, I'll be honest. However, one thing that was starting to grow on me as we were reading this is that they never fully explain a lot of the samurai stuff, but it's also consistent enough throughout this manga's short life that you can pick up on the things that are there,
Oddly
which I
enough,
think is really cool.
yes, despite only getting vague ideas of what's going on a full scale, there's enough internal consistency that nothing really feels like an ass pull, surprisingly enough.
Well,
I would say that's more of a symptom of the cancellation than
true.
anything.
Although
I would call that more of an acceleration than an ass pull.
yeah, that's sort of the thing though, is like I guess with Kishimoto you know you're going to go to infinity and beyond.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think he would have liked to have built up to that moment.
Yeah, especially that one part at the end. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Like I think it's in like the very last chapter when they show all of the characters,
Yeah.
including characters that we didn't get to meet.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Because yeah, the whole story is basically Hachimaru turns out he's like this special samurai key that it needs to be used to unlock Pandora's box or something. But there are other keys throughout that they have to find.
Essentially, the being that created everything that this setting knows, both of his powers are locked away within the Pandora's box, and I forget the name of
The mandala box.
The mandala box, which is actually a sphere. And basically, there
No,
are
it's a box.
keys.
Shut up, though.
Yes, it's a box.
Spherical!
It's spherical!
Spherical! I am pondering the Mangatsu box.
I'm pondering the Amygdala box. But the keys that open these will essentially lead to, the power to reshape the universe as one wishes. And we come to learn that Hachimaru is an unintended but vital eighth key that is needed because his very existence means that the other 7 keys don't have enough power and functionality to open any of the boxes on their own.
Well, actually,
But we'll go over the finer details.
Yeah.
In order.
So, do we want to get into like a sort of plot synopsis to sort of walk through?
Yeah, we can walk through it a bit.
What's going on? So, one of my favorite things from the beginning. So we're introduced to Hachimaru. He is insanely sick. He can barely eat because he has all these allergies. He's hooked up to this life support system, and all he does is play Guilty Gear Strive all day.
He literally plays the in-world equivalent of the most popular MMO fighter.
Yeah.
Which is basically perfect training for becoming a samurai because it's like VR samurai MMO.
It's just a VR samurai game.
Because that was made by design. Because the person who actually made the game is like a legend, like one of the most legendary samurai the world has known.
Yeah. No, not the world. You're thinking too small. The galaxy,
Sorry,
my
the
friend.
galaxy, yes.
The galaxy has ever known.
Many worlds. And it's crazy because we open up with a briefing being given to our Hachimaru in game, but it's actually based on a real event that samurai went through. So not only is it giving us, it's not only is it putting us in Hachimaru's shoes of him being like this gamer, but it's also putting us in the actual lore of the universe at the same time.
And it's really strange because they don't explain any of it.
Yeah,
At first.
My biggest takeaway, and we can go over some more details of it, but my biggest takeaway from the first arc is that, especially the first chapter, which is like 73 pages, is I have nothing but remorse for the idea that you have to have such a hard sell in your first chapter that you have to basically like time crunch your opening to a degree, or suffer the idea that you might just be canceled out of the gate because you didn't catch enough attention in one chapter. Like there should be like a 3 chapter grace period or something.
Well, they have been. That's actually what the Jumpstart program has been, which is where a lot of the manga that we've read previously have been on.
True.
I think
But like
this, however, was
not.
I'm actually not too sure. Was 2019 the Jumpstart period? I feel like we've read other things along those lines.
Well, yeah, I know.
It just might not
Hot
have
Cluster
been
was a
in it.
Jumpstart series.
Yeah. You know what?
No,
It
I
might
mean
just not have been in it because, this is Kishimoto's new
Yeah.
manga. It doesn't need to get jump started.
maybe I'm making a poor bridge of connection, but it just feels like the first chapter or two was a lot to like. It was very condensed. So after we kind of get into this whole, he's basically tied to a leash in his own like kind of dojo style home where he can't even step off his front like porch.
He also has a robotic dog that goes meow.
Yes.
I love that.
His robo dog that meows at him. It's perfect. Great companion. No complaints.
100% perfect.
We dive into the relationship between Hachimaru and his dad, where Hachimaru's dad is his caretaker essentially as well, because not only is he his dad, but he kind of has to regulate the liquid diet, make sure he brings him the one food that he can't eat, which are apples.
And also, he's a genius inventor who actually invented Hachimaru's life support system.
Yes. And basically, what kind of gives us another kind of set piece is that another prequel we see prior to getting all this is Hachimaru wishing upon a star, and it kind of goes overboard, but it starts to like leak in themes about like the number 7 being a big arc number that hangs over the entire series, and that he's the 8th, where it's like,
No,
I guess
is the arc number now.
Yeah, true.
Look at me. I am the arc number now.
Because he makes like 7 wishes, and then like his 8th wish, which is his most realistic wish, which also ties into him being the 8th. It's kind of like a nice little set piece dropping that is put upon us. So getting into the continuation of kind of where we're looking into with the first chapter, because it's actually quite a lengthy period. Hajimaru's dad goes out to go basically pick up on a trade deal he made with the samurai, and comes upon this kind of like, I guess, a developing scenario where a samurai is forcing one of his underlings to commit seppuku in front of one of those binding balls, or I think they're like seal balls? I forget the proper term.
Yeah, it was something ball.
Where basically
Ball.
the samurai is basically telling his underling, hey man, if you really want to make up for your like, sucking at your job, you'll see if you can become a samurai, even though he knows he like has no chance. And his dad shows up with money to go collect that ball for himself. And back at home, Hachimaru comes across a peculiar Dakumara, or sorry, not Dakum. Oh my god, Dakumara! I have brain rot.
Daruma?
Yes, comes across a Daruma that kind of just crashes through his ceiling.
What an absolute mongoloid.
Yes, I know. Degenerate. And he starts painting it, and he's like, starts praying, like, okay, maybe this is what the shooting star brought to me, so I better not, like, waste my opportunity. And we see here that amongst wishing to be a powerful samurai and all that, he primarily wishes for his dad to return home safely from whatever he was going to do. But lo and behold, the Daruma was just a cloak that reveals one of our big players of the series.
Bro, what the fuck was his name?
Daruma.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was Master Daruma.
Yes,
Oh my
well,
god.
for most of the series, we know him as Master Daruma, and he is this.
He's one of our cyborg samurai, and I think he's like the first one we really get like to meet.
He's also in a cat body.
Yeah, he's also in a cat body, so he's like a cat robot samurai.
But it's like short and squat, and he's kind of like almost like baby panda shaped, but a big furry cat. It's weird to describe. It's a very like cool design.
But he wasn't always a cat.
No,
Yes.
he was sealed in this form by
By an evil man that becomes a friend later and is a dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I know
boy.
we gotta give things credit because they're canceled, but like,
It is pretty funny how he's like the cat samurai turned the dog samurai into a cat, and the cat samurai turned into a dog.
yeah.
So Daruma Sensei, as we know him, he was the great wolf samurai who made the game that we were talking about, and he was sealed and turned into a cat despite being the wolf samurai. And the
Because he
person who did
doesn't
it
like
to him
cats.
was the cat samurai who has been turned into a dog,
Because he doesn't like dogs.
as we'll later meet. But while Daruma is dropping some lore on Hachimaru, the deal goes awry between the samurai and Hachimaru's dad. And it turns out that the samurai is actually looking for Hachimaru unknowingly. And he kind of flexes his samurai powers on Hachimaru's dad. He's like, we're different from you, like lowly humans. This guy's kind of a shitty samurai though, so he's got to exemplify that fact that he's a good like plot device to show the actual like differences between human and samurai though, even if he's presenting it in kind of like a dickhead manner.
Yeah, he sucks. So I believe they talk about how what is it that gets them interested? I think they were talking about how Hachimaru might be the key. Because as we were saying before, they need keys to unlock Pandora's box. So between samurai, it's like one of their things to try and unlock Pandora's box because the war god, it has his power in there. So it means more power.
And it's also like the first hint that like obviously Hachimaru is destined to be bigger than what he is, because why would Hachimaru have a key and he's not a samurai? That's strange. Which is when also Daruma brings a big arc kind of like concept where that which is most important is always hidden out of sight, concealed behind a wall of deception. Basically, samurais can see with their heart and their soul, and the true nature becomes hidden.
Except Daruma explicitly says he can't.
Yes.
Dharma is also blind. Did we say that?
Yeah, so Daruma, in this form at least, is actually blind, but he gets like glimpses of true sight.
Yeah.
In the midst of his blindness. So, Daruma is basically giving the Hachimaru a huge lore dump, and Hachimaru's like, I'm actually ready to commit seppuku to become a samurai. And Daruma's like, wow, this kid might be serious. And our two kind of separate like events collide when the samurai basically forcibly reads Hachimaru's father's mind. And what the heck is his name again? Because I feel bad calling him Hachimaru's dad every 2 seconds.
No, it's just Hachimaru's dad.
Yeah.
Oh no.
He's only alive for a few chapters.
Damn, that's brutal. But anyway,
Hey, should have had a different kid.
So he didn't even have him. He built him.
we're jumping ahead. He gets his mind forcibly read, and the samurai basically comes in to be like, okay, I'm going to go steal that key because I need it. And Daruma flexes on him big time. Daruma's like, yo, I'm more than meets the eye, Transformers style. And there's kind of a standoff because the samurai projects using his like steed. So yeah, every samurai has a mount,
Their
basically,
holder.
which is like their armor and also like other gear that they can just call upon to use. So his holder shows that Hachimaru's dad got his shit kicked in, and his goons are holding him at like knife point. So Daruma can't attack him directly, and Daruma gets his shit kicked in a little bit because he doesn't want to get Hachimaru's dad killed. So of course Hachimaru tries to fight, but he can't because his like life support is just holding him hostage essentially. And we get a really actually kind of cool moment in the midst of all this kind of chaos where the samurai is like, fine, if you commit seppuku with this, I'll let your dad live. And Hachimaru's like, fine, I'll do it. And, you know, Hachimaru's dad's like, no, kids shouldn't die before their children. We get, like, this kind of
big
flashback.
dramatic moment.
And he does it. And that's when it's like, oh, yeah, no. He was literally just a robot, essentially, that was holding... Not only was he holding a key, but he was holding, like, the soul of another samurai, which these samurai souls actually are their true blades, where actually any physical made katanas are just like toys by comparison.
Yeah,
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of it in the beginning is like, so they don't explain this then, and they never really get to it later, but they say that like the reason why you become a samurai is you either have to have a samurai soul, and you have to have enough honor to like commit seppuku, and then your robot body awakens.
So, of course, given the dramatic nature of Hachimaru's commitments of seppuku and his like his I guess tie, his bond to what he did it or why he did it, it is enough to awaken him. But it also is probably heavily helped along by the fact that he was already built to be a part of this from the get-go. And once he's able to do so, he's given the one of his replica samurai, one of his replica blades off the wall of like his room, and he uses it to do combat with this kind of rogue samurai, this Ronin, if you will. And he's able to hold him off long enough for Daruma to get back into the fight. And he uses this move we see earlier where he's like doing his game thing, where he sacrifices his arm to deal a true blow to the other samurai. And it weakens him enough where he basically reverts to his like ball form, and they're able to take his key.
So my biggest gripe with this series is most present in maybe the first half of the manga, and it is the art, actually.
Oh?
The character art is fine, but I've noticed with this manga especially, the backgrounds are just not good, and just it just muddies everything up. Let me see if I can scroll through. Like, look at this. Oh my god, I don't even know what's going on. It's all just black, white, mud.
Yeah, some of the panels...
Try to figure out what's going on here.
Some of the panels do get pretty noisy.
Later on, like, oh my god, look at... Oof. But later on, they do start actually getting some contrast between the backgrounds and the foreground a bit better. Especially since they're fighting in space and stuff.
I
But
also think it's an unfortunate side effect of the the shapes used in the character design.
yeah, since everything like it's all like kind of sci-fi, like clean,
biomatter.
yeah, biomatter, clean lines, like not clean, but like rounded.
Yeah,
Right,
everything's
everything-
round and organic, but also like not.
Like this could be really a really good shot if it was just if there was a bit more contrast between certain things, a bit more shading, but it's all just black and white, and it's
Yeah, and even like a lot of the parts that are black are part shadows and part like greenery.
uh-huh.
And the greenery is more black than the shadows.
Oh, here's a samurai popping his head.
So yes, this is what the samurai look like when revealing their keys to each other, and they can do all sorts of shit. Like they can like direct link to each other.
Yeah.
There's
There are funny moments when Hachimaru first becomes a samurai and he accidentally like gets his key stuck popped open, so he's just like this for a bit.
Oh yeah,
during the
'cause
initial training.
he does that thing that everyone does where he goes like weep boop weep
Yeah.
boop weep boop weep boop and it gets stuck.
Because of course he's just having fun, being like, "Holy shit! The thing I've always wanted to do is now possible." So he's just kind of fucking around.
Uh-huh. Like this is a great shot.
Yeah, that's a
There's-
really good shot because you can tell like it's properly shaded and properly lit.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Even this is pretty good because there is some more shading.
so-
The definition
that-
of the landscape here.
That vista right there is something I also want to touch upon. Because I don't know if you guys got this feeling, but when I was reading like this, especially the beginning half while they're still on this planet, spoiler alert, they go to other planets in this sci-fi manga.
The sci-fi space opera.
Yeah. This whole place gave me a lot of like original Dragon Ball vibes.
I can see that.
Oh yeah, honestly, like those
Like-
weird rounded buildings set up on like farmland and stuff.
Mm-hmm. It
Almost like-
reminded me a lot of like early Dragon like early Dragon Ball.
Like not even sparsely, I would say like intermittently populated countryside.
Especially when a tank driven by pigmen showed up. I'm like, this is Dragon Ball as shit.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of cozy in a way.
But
Speaking
going
of Pigmen Tank, we do meet one character here who shows up here and then not until the last chapter.
So I
oh
think
yeah.
we can really just sort of touch upon the other characters.
Yeah, we could just breeze through the rest of the story so people know what happens. We don't gotta go too hard. But
Yeah.
one thing we have,
kind of densely dug into this because it's such
yeah,
a big first. It's almost 80-page first chapter.
Yeah.
one thing we haven't said yet about the whole samurai thing is each samurai also gets a princess, which I forget exactly how you get one. Like
So-
they find you, or it's their locker ball that you
Oh, there it is, locker ball.
locker ball is what it is.
So I think we should touch upon the specifics of the samurai system
Okay, yeah.
later.
Yeah, if you want to go to like the training page, that is a lot of good. Though the one thing I do like about this character we meet during this little pig tank fiasco
Best
is how
character. Absolutely one of my favorite characters.
is how they tie into the priest's or his priest's brother, the concept of like nothingness. that they
Yeah,
call it.
Oh, yeah.
later
Being
on, that was a really cool throwback, and that's one of those things that like it gives me that feeling of like if this wasn't canceled, seeing that flashed out would have been one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of potential of like really meaningful callbacks and like interconnectivity between different characters, but that share similar concepts. But the character we're talking about is basically how we mentioned he's a gamer, and Hachimoto's like it was actually also happens to be the #1 gamer. He knew all the perfect frame links and setups and frame traps.
Yeah, he's the gamerist.
And he meets his #2, the guy he always ran sets with, who happened to be like the prime like prodigy of some dojo on the planet they're on.
But nobody knew who the hell he was.
Yep. and they don't know if they're a boy or a girl. And they talk to their right hand and their left hand like they're
Which
people.
are also robotic parts.
Yep.
Man, this character's so cool.
And they also want to be a samurai. And Hachimura's like, "Yo, just be a samurai, dummy." And he defeats
Just
the.
do it.
I did it. That's what I did.
Yeah, all I did was I just did it, and it happened.
But
Together they defeat the pig tank. He's like, "I'll be back later."
And marry you. What? I didn't say that. Except he did.
But that character, their name is Nanashi, or it's not really their name. They don't have a name, but people call them that
Nameless.
because that means nameless. But Nanashi is also Nana is 7, just like Hachimaru Hachi is 8.
Numbers.
So, numbers. What do they mean?
Numbers.
7 and 8. You're gonna see these numbers a lot in this one.
Yeah, they drop numbers really,
but
really
only
far.
2 numbers. Only 7.
Well, no,
and 8.
there's more numbers later. Did you guys not know that?
The Lord, no, I know the lore dump later, where we meet.
No.
I
mean, when we meet the other characters, and it's like, oh, their names are both memes and numbers.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Go figure.
I don't think I paid attention to that.
I guess we could jump ahead while we're on it. The 2 final samurai, like the 2 final keys we meet, their names are Goku and Ichigo.
Oh, okay. Go and Ichi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. Like, oh, Goku.
So not only are they a reference to, well, Dragon Ball Z, like Dragon Ball and Bleach, but they're also numbers.
Also,
Kishimoto,
from a setting
you crafty
standpoint,
bastard.
I think the samurai sci-fi are way cooler than, and here, I'm gonna get attacked for this, way cooler than the spirit samurai from Bleach. Boo! Tomatoes. Yes, I get it. But
No, you're right. That shit's lame.
It's about the concepts, man. The concepts that were here. Oh, also, one thing that totally gets glossed over, and we only see it like once or twice, but it's great. Oh, samurais don't just have katanas, you know. We also have guns.
Yeah,
But only that was only
ju-
like a certain style, right? Only a certain like samurai style.
Ruma
I
Sensei
think-
has like twin handguns, and there's
Yeah.
another guy later who has a sniper rifle.
yeah. Daruma's like style, the Kogo
Kagoyashi?
Ashura style.
Is it Kokoyashu or something like that?
I guess it really depends on where you read it.
Konguyasha.
Yeah.
Or sorry,
Like Kongo Yasha or like
have to
Kongo
play the-
Ashura or Kongo Vajra, depending on like how it was translated.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I just will pull out the samurai gun. And then he does it like twice.
Yeah.
I remember he did it in the Battle Royale arc.
So
What
after-
that arc could have been cool, but it wasn't. Anyway.
Because
Actually.
after our little intro chapter, we basically get a tiny training arc, and at the end of it, it sets up both the main arc of the entire series for a short run, and then kicks off the adventure into fulfilling that arc, which leads us into the only actual other main arc, which is that Battle Royale arc.
Mhm.
So this training setup is a really good source of a lot of the world building that we're gonna get into.
So we meet on. I want to say it's on.
Yeah, that's
just
her name.
because of
Yeah.
Japanese stuff.
Is his fated priestess?
Yes, his fated priestess, which is one of the the trinity that every samurai needs to unlock true power.
And
Which,
basically,
like,
if she
It's the power Memoru.
if she prays for him, basically he gets more powerful.
Yeah, it's like,
And a samurai needs to
I want to
protect.
say it's kind of whack to have like a character who's a dedicated like cheerleader, but also I kind of like the symbiotic relationship.
It is cool.
And they actually, and unlike some other useless females in Naruto that were poorly written. A lot of the priestess samurai relationships in this are actually really like cool and meaningful, even if we only see like glimpses of it. Like talking about like when other samurai show up with their priestesses, and even like the main villain and his priestess, all their dynamics are very different and interesting, and it's actually explored even in like brief glimpses in a very fun manner. And it's nice to see the variety, which comes across way better than like not so greatly written female characters in Naruto.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different can of worms.
So the first thing that we get introduced with on is she's kind of like klutzy and ditzy, but not actually.
Only relevant to how prim and proper the other priestesses are. She's actually just
Yeah.
relatively a normal girl
Like
to a degree.
she loses her locker ball and it puts it like on top of a jar to like hold it down. And it's like, oh, I don't know where it is. Or
Which of
she
course
does like
turns out to
flower
be
arrangements and makes like a kaiju or something. Everyone's like, what the fuck is that? So I like that, but I like the fact that she doesn't feel like she's
she doesn't feel
not like a
obligated to be
full
devoted.
yeah, she's not like a full wallflower, but she's also not like a full bitch.
Tsundere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
She's
Dawn.
just kind of cool.
And they actually spend time building their relationship up, which is impressive given the short run. It's not amazing, but it's way more effort than they could have taken. Because they could have just said, yeah, no, you guys are fated together, go. That's it. But they actually take care to show bumps along the way, which is really cool.
So yeah, training. He gets his princess. He.
Learns
Oh yeah,
a lot
then
about the system.
He gets
Yeah.
his dad murdered.
yeah, dad dies, but
So,
the main
yeah.
villain comes and attacks.
And
Yeah.
his dad
Atta.
dying is tied into this main villain. Because this Atta also is a big lore reveal where this is where we find out that yes, Hachimaru's dad is not actually his dad. He made him. And Atta
Yeah.
was one of his disciples. And basically, not only was Hachimaru's surrogate dad building the life support system that's keeping him going, he was also turning his own body into an anti-Atta weapon that was entirely dedicated to killing himself and sealing Atta away. All in once.
It's
Yeah. So Hachimaru's dad is a scientist because Atta. Okay, so Atta betrays Daruma to go work with a bad guy.
So yeah, he's Atta is Daruma's
bad-
disciple,
To
not
get the mandala box to do villain stuff with all that power. And Hachimaru's dad was a scientist who made the artificial keys for the mandala box. But there was an extra one, and it was Hachimaru, and he went to go kill it so the other ones would have like the key power, and he didn't because Hachimaru was so cool.
yeah. So Hachimaru has 7 other Hachimarus that are evil.
And they're like, brother, you must fuse with us, brother.
yeah.
We
So
must become the key.
basically, he was like, even though he was like such a like, he was basically like the runt of the litter, and because he was struggling so hard to survive, the professor took pity on him and ran away with him. Which is why Atta came back to retrieve him now that he's awoken as a samurai. And basically, him awakening as a samurai, he's basically put a giant GPS signal on every other samurai's map. Like, oh shit.
Because he has big gravity.
Because yes,
Yeah.
all of his other stats suck, but he has huge gravity. which
Especially
attracts every other-
charisma.
So basically, it attracts the plot to him.
Yeah. So after we leave the planet from a big cool showdown, where Atta literally blows up the moon.
On
they-
his way out.
Sick.
But
Being
they
a
save
sucker,
everyone. And
Yeah.
that was not the real Atta anyway. That was a
Yeah. All that suicide shit was for nothing because Anna's like, haha, I sent like 1/78th of my power. It's like, fuck. It's so lame. So then we meet the other two, right?
Yeah, the quirky fellas.
Yeah. It
I
was
don't,
Sen and
I don't
right?
remember. I forget.
I don't remember. It was Sen and Sheeta, I think. Sen was funny. Sen was funny as fuck.
Is that the one that didn't have his memory?
That's the one who didn't have his memory and was a samurai.
He was good.
I love that character. Yeah, so they basically run into Ryu. Right. Yeah. Ryu is a so Ryu and the other guy are basically like drifters who steal from people to get by. And they encounter the main characters on like this intergalactic department store.
Yeah.
The space mall.
They were trying to steal their ship.
Yeah.
Or steal stuff from it or something.
And they tell everyone of an intergalactic battle royale where they can win money to pay off a bunch of debt that they just accrued in like an afternoon.
Well, no, they actually returned that scroll, and they still just wanted the money anyway. And it's also a good chance for Hachimaru to test his samurai skills after he has a really cool sparring match with Ryu.
Yeah, I believe that they also thought that the guy who was hosting it was one of the allies they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
One of the keys. So, they go to a battle royale planet, and the entire actual battle royale is like 3-4 chapters.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They only show like 1 or 2 fights from the battle royale when like there was thousands of samurai that they had to get through. They just
like 2,000.
They just montage through it.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because the stuff they do focus in on shows really cool potential, because like one of the whole points is like you can't just be focused on killing your enemy, you also have to protect your priestess at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But another samurai and his really cool, like another cool duo shows up and they're like, wow, you're a fucking coward, let go his priestess. And it just cleaves him in two.
Yeah, some hooligan samurai tries to like decoy Hachimaru away to give it on. And then this other guy shows up, he's like, that's not very pog of you, coward.
That's not very samurai of you.
Yeah.
It's also around this time where we understand a look into Ann's backstory. Not the entirety of it, but a good chunk of it. Well, actually, no, my bad. It does actually go into the full thing here, but then they touch upon it again later. So yeah, we basically learned that Ann's brother was also a nameless child who eventually ended up failing the seppuku ritual because at an attempt to protect her, and so it's revealed that what was originally misconstrued as like actual, at least at first, affection between Ann and Hachimaru is her seeing her brother in him.
Mm-hmm.
So to her, it's more of a familial thing. Oh, and of course, Hachimaru's key holder is his cat dog. Just
we don't get to see too much of him in battle, right? After,
I mean, they're like kind of so like in tune with each other that they're kind of one of the same entity as far as battling goes.
It's just, I just feel he doesn't do too much after the initial planet.
Yeah, I mean, more or less, kind of sticks out because they want to. Because that's again another side effect of trying to focus on Hachimaru's growth, so the ending doesn't seem too out of left field.
Mm-hmm.
There is I mean, at least the final showdown of the battle royale is really cool, where it is just straight up a rematch of Hachimaru and Ryu.
Mm-hmm.
which is actually really neat, where it shows that Hachimaru is learning battle things.
Yeah, after offing like 1,000 dudes, I'd hope so.
Well, it wasn't all him.
No, but like, well, that's the thing. It was like 2,500 people, and like, Hachimaru, Ryu, and Dharma got to the top 3.
And then, bam, big reveal. The guy hosting it was totally a fucking liar, and he's not actually a good guy. And all the keys he's holding are just from the dead bodies of the samurai on the planet, and he actually is not like a good key holder himself at all.
Yeah, he's like a crime warlord who has like a planet of dead samurai keys that he controls. That part was kind of sick.
Yeah,
But
I
then
also
it's also
And also, the Sen you were thinking of is the cool samurai guy who shows up with his priestess, because they're part of like a secret service team.
shit. I knew I was thinking
Where
of someone.
Ryu is the amnesiac who has like the cool twin souls. Also, boom, big other reveal. Kotsuga is a fucking double-faced, cross-faced traitor.
That was his name.
I knew it was a K something.
It turns out his whole reason for doing that is revealed to also just be a farce. Because, of course, the big warlord dude is just a huge douche canoe and basically manipulated Kotsuga's father
Who
and
was a big
mother
samurai guy.
who was a big samurai dude. Basically convinces his father that his son has no chance of becoming a samurai by using like a fake blood sample, and his dad goes nuts and like is about to like go after his own son, and then of course his mom gets in the way, and even though his mother getting injured snaps his dad out of his like rage, um the warlord guy twists the knife further by killing his mother in that moment while no one's looking, and everything just goes to shit from there. And he takes Kotsuga as Kotsuga under his wing.
Yeah, and
And
the father dissolves because
he killed his
he
priest,
lost his courage and he killed his priestess.
yeah,
which was pretty cool.
it was.
So that whole arc is a really cool play on like the story of Yoshitsune and Benkei or
Right, because
Benkai.
Kotsuga, or his real name, which I think is like Sando
Yes, it is.
or Sanada, is that his real? It's like Sanada or
It's,
Sando.
I feel like it's Sando, but
Sando, yeah,
His dad is Yoshitsune,
yeah,
or was.
is no longer
It's Sanda.
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 So Sanda was actually going to be a samurai because, of course, he was. He was the son of Yoshitsune, but fucking what's the overlord, the crime lord's name?
Benkei.
Benkei, yeah, steps in and basically causes catastrophe and steals Sanda for himself because he felt entitled to what Yoshitsune had.
He's big jelly.
Yeah, he was big jelly that he couldn't do it himself.
So that arc was cool where they managed to stop Benkei's plan and Sanda was able to get revenge on him with Ryu.
Mhm.
That was dope because those two are a really good duo.
Yeah, I like them.
Absolutely. Very strong character duo. And it's good to
And
see
then-
like the twists and turns where you're like, holy shit, is he actually to still betray them at the very last minute? It's like, nah. It was really like a farce down to the last minute where he's no, I'm actually with the good guys now.
And then after that, I believe that's when we meet Ichigo and Goku and like the other team of key holders, like box key holders.
On the way to basically go into the final confrontation with Atta.
Yeah, oh, because there's that little girl that they saved from the world.
Yeah, so there is a little girl that they save from one of the like planet busters that they introduce in the Benkei arc. And they save her because she has the potential to be a key because she has like
future sight.
She basically has future sight because her mind's eye is so adapted.
Yeah, so she knew the planet was going to explode, and she was like, "Hey, Mom, what happens if we die today?"
Yeah.
And Mom's
we're
like,
all
"What?
just gonna die.
Shut up."
Shut up, kid. Go to school. We're paying for it.
And they use this kind of interlude before the final battle, where Goku is basically like low key stealing on.
He's Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Literally rolls up as Mr. Steal Your Girl from Hachimaru, but it turns out he's actually doing it for benevolent reasons because he's trying to basically get them to realize that like their bond has to come from them genuinely knowing each other and not from like preconceived notions of what a samurai and a priestess should be. Because she was seeing him as her just another like reincarnation of her older brother,
And he was
he
seeing
was just
her as
assuming,
like a power source.
right, a power
Like, I'm a
source.
samurai. You're the priestess. You're the one who helps me get strong.
Even if he wasn't, he was being more like obnoxious about it than he was like malicious. But still, he needed to understand.
Yeah. He's just a dumb jackass. He's not actually a bad person.
Right. So thanks to Goku being Mr. Steelio Girl, they clear things up and they agree to get off on the right foot of like, let's be a team for each other, as opposed to for our own reasons. And yes, so basically, Anta crashes the party and eviscerates Hachimaru with no problem and steals on because since she's Hachimaru's priest, she has to be the priestess for the other 7 Hachimarus.
Yeah, so the part where Ata has Hachimaru, basically beats Hachimaru's ass and has him linked up to another life support system was kind of metal.
Yeah, I liked it.
Because the cyborg samurai can't die unless they lose their, like, courage and their hope. And Hachimaru's like, I'll never lose hope. And it's like, gorgeous. You will never die then. I can test out all of my samurai techniques on you.
Yeah, and I don't think we ever brought this up, but the samurai do regenerate their bodies and stuff.
Oh yeah, everything.
Unless they're cut by special swords.
Yeah, there's a special sword that won't make you regenerate.
So everything's looking pretty hopeless when 11th hour samurai power shows up and Nanashi comes back
with 2 souls.
Yeah, so
he has he had like 2 soul. So he's able to sneak in and get to Hachimaru and be like, "Yo, what are you doing, Hachimaru? Just get the fuck up." And Hachimaru's like,
"Yeah, just be a samurai."
I do.
And it's like,
I like his ability.
I'm just gonna become the universe.
Yeah, no, his ability is actually really sick though.
But when I did see him, like when they showed like the shot of him, I was like, oh god, okay, I see we're at that time.
We're in the final hour.
The manga's been canceled. I get it. Okay, let's finish this up.
Yeah, we're literally at the part where the manga's been canceled. Wrap it up in a chapter. I bet.
Because it's just like, oh, he became a samurai that fast. Okay.
He severs Hachimaru from the life support machine, and there's a big talk no jutsu moment where Hachimaru reflects on the discussion that him, Daruma, and I forget Daruma's proper name when he's a full samurai,
and fucking
the god of war.
Mudo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the war god who started the universe. And he starts spouting like
in their heads.
Yeah, he starts spouting like quantum physics Buddhism at them.
And so
quantum Buddhism.
Yeah, quantum Buddhism.
This happened earlier, but basically Hachimaru is reflecting on it now after
and he's just like, oh, if I just want to be a god, I will.
Yeah,
and he just does it.
You've discovered that death is a meme.
Literally, like believing it's almost like Matrix, where it's like in order to ascend, you have to like no longer fear death because death and life are just like nothing.
It's like once people dissipate, they believe they die. But if you just believe, you become part of the universe instead. You're just the universe. It's that easy, forehead.
And so this basically hyper accelerates Hachimaru into his second till final stage, where he protects Anna from Ata's like big attack. He uses like that silent thing where he can count out how long the slash will be, and Hachimura disapparates in front of her. But then, as he becomes like a lock cube, because now that they're in the cube planet or the cube sector, he's a lock cube instead of a lock sphere now. By the way, and she's like, "Oh, I get it now." As he's like dying, and he starts reforming, and the strength of his reformation puts a barrier around them that also speeds up time just for them.
So they basically grow up into their like super forms.
It's like kind of sick because the super forms look really good and really cool.
So the part of the ending that I thought was really funny is Hachimaru like evaporates into being the universe, takes over the seven bodies of his brothers, and then Ana off 6 of them right there. In like one foul swoop.
I will come back again because I am now the universe. And then but to be fair, there's a really cool like brick wrap up where Hachimaru kind of does his own, because like one of Hachimaru's running jokes is that he's tired of all like the samurai exposition about like what it means to be a samurai, and it's all just like a bunch of crazy exposition. But then he goes on one of those rants and he's like, it doesn't matter who you are, you can give me any one of the titles you want to trot out in front of me, but what matters is what is my perspective, and to me you're the guy who killed my father. And it's like, oh shit. So, now that he's reached, like, basically enlightenment, he's able to use the ultimate samurai move that no one else can use unless you have infinity stats. And yes, I do actually mean unless you have infinity stats. So on praying for him, he disintegrates not only, he just disintegrates Atta completely, basically.
No, but infinity is just the 8 turns sideways. Actually, though.
But after that, it uses so much power that Hachimaru has to go back to being basically, I'm the space dust that's around every one of you. So whenever you want me, I'm there, kind of. And we get an epilogue where it goes on to imply that An would have picked up the sword to be the main character, along with the rest of the characters that we've met along the way, as well as 2 characters we haven't met at all.
Yeah, they're like, oh, here are the other keys that you haven't seen.
Get owned.
Do they look cool or too bad?
Like a gigantic hot mess, and it was all over the place, and it wasn't really as clear or concise as some of the other things we covered. That's because it is.
It definitely is.
It most certainly is not. Is.
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't love this. I didn't hate it. It was confusing. It was interesting. It was cool at times. It was not cool at times. It was different, and I'll give it that.
This had some sauce, but it had nothing else.
There could have been a good meal, but there was just sauce, and the sauce wasn't that bad.
It's pretty good sauce,
but it's just where's the food?
Like there's no dough and cheese for that sauce. There's no spaghetti and meatballs for that sauce.
I wonder at what point the realization dawned that this wasn't going to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly when it was, but in an article I read, it wasn't like it was Kishimoto himself that decided to end it. He was because he said that that he saw like it wasn't popular, he wasn't reaching a good audience, so he was like, okay, let's wrap it up. Because he originally said he was going to aim for 10 volumes and just see if it got popular, he can keep writing, but it didn't, and it only lasted like 3 volumes,
which is a shame because the speculative, like the world building and the potential is through the roof.
I can't get over when Daruma was trying to give Hachimaru like access to the Congo style. It's like you gotta download the license, and I'm like, oh, oh, you gotta pay for the Adobe license.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many like little things here and there that just go by, and you're like, wait, that's actually a system, and you want to know more, but it's like, nope, you don't get more.
So we met 5 out of the 7 keys, the quote unquote 7 keys,
Excluding, of
right?
course, Hachimaru.
Yeah, because we met Ichigo. There was Sanda, who is implied to was going to be one of the keys because he shows up like at the wrap up, I guess, in the epilogue when you see all the other keys. Uh, we see Goku, we see Ryu, and we see Nanashi. Yeah, I think it's actually in this
Yeah,
Next chapter,
the next one.
I believe.
yeah, I
Oh
think
no,
it might be like the final
yeah,
chapter.
there it is. So, the final chapter, which is on the Manga Plus. Also, An's
Okay.
design that they had going for like the epilogue was really cool. I liked it a lot. I
Yeah.
wish I could do more of it. But alas. Oh yeah, also, Hachimaru is Pandora's box. By the
Yeah,
way.
He
yeah,
was
that's
the
also
box.
revealed that he was the box, and that the boxes aren't 2 separate boxes. It's one box that just changes depending on how you look at it. Cause that's just everything in this. Yeah, the god literally comes down and tells them that yeah, everything is just what you look at it as.
Literally quantum Buddhism.
Yeah, just quantum Buddhism. And it's kinda whack. But it's also kinda cool.
Uh-huh.
So, ultimately, this had everything it needed to not get canceled. It like all the potential
Except
was
being
there,
good.
but I think it was just I think like it tried to drop too much for its own good to try to be popular and engaging, and that ultimately ended up making it just come across as very like muddy.
Yeah, definitely in the beginning, I never felt the urge to want to keep reading. Like with Robot X Laser Beam or some other stuff we read, like I was like, okay, I need to know what's going on next. In this, I was just kind of like, okay, I have time. I'll read another one since I have to get through this. But I never felt the need to keep going or the want to keep going. Yeah, I don't know if it was just the writing or if it's just something, just the hook wasn't there. Something, because looking at it, like taking a step back, thinking of this world, it's such a cool idea. These weird space robot samurai are really cool, but yeah, I think it's just the writing or something just wasn't there to fully grip me, and I guess a lot of other people.
I was at least pleased it wasn't as abysmal
Yeah, it
as I
wasn't abysmal.
expected it to be, but it basically just left me kind of feeling empty in a way where I'm a fast reader. I kind of plow through manga, even if whether I enjoy it or don't enjoy it. But like even with this, I kind of just like feel like I just kind of just read events. Yeah, they were connected. They were just kind of events that kind of just happened. And it's hard to really pinpoint what about it does that because again, it's one of the weird like paradoxes, if you will, about like canceled manga, where it's like parts we don't like come apart because it's being canceled, but also some of it's clearly some series stuck the landing a lot more firmly than others. Hence,
So
like the last quarter of Hi-Fi Cluster.
Hmm.
But like, it just kind of felt like everything was. It's weird. It's almost like the slower it went, the better it got. But when it tried to like do a lot and try to be cool and try to like generate too much hype at once, it just starts to fall apart. To me, at least.
so I don't think I've really ever encountered this in a manga because the art's good. The characters are good. The theme is cool and like the lore of the world is cool. But I think that this would have been better as a different form of media.
Hmm.
Personally. Like, I don't think any one of its like actual characteristics are bad, but it just doesn't go together well as like panel by panel, page by page, chapter by chapter, as I think it would if it got the chance to be something like, and I don't know, maybe an anime, maybe just like a series of shorts, maybe even just like a written book.
Like a light novel, even.
Yes, I think as a manga, it just doesn't click.
Yeah, it was very confusing especially with some of the art, like how you have to portray some of the things that are happening. Like I kind of
Mm-hmm.
pointed out, it's
If
just
anything,
confusing.
it kind of seems like we're coming across the idea that it was too big for its own good.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a bit too big. There are so many different themes colliding, which, on paper seem really cool, but it
And
wasn't
none were bad alone.
yeah, it wasn't executed as well as it could have been.
Well, I believe the only thing we have left is to touch on the samurai system and actually go a bit in depth in it. Um Probably the coolest part of this whole series. Um we've touched on it before, but I think the long and short of it is that like the war god gives you like it like make when he makes your soul, you have the chance to become a cybernetic bio samurai if you have like the honor of a samurai beyond that of a warrior.
And something to be courageous about, basically.
Yes, and you need something to fight for, and you need to have like the courage to do so. And then you get like an undying, regenerating, like cybernetic body with like a spine brain.
It was
And
quite
you
literally a computer.
Yeah, and your soul becomes the blade for a handle that your holder gives you. And that blade's qualities are based on the quality of your person.
And then completing the Trinity is, of course, the priestess. So basically, it's the samurai and their beliefs, their holder, and their priestess, which makes up the full Trinity. Which is why, like, Yoshitsune fell apart, because he lost his priestess, and then he lost his courage in himself, which also caused his holder to fall apart, and then he basically dissipated in upon himself, cursing the world, even though it totally wasn't his fault, which is kind of crazy to think about. And just some of the intricacies of the system really go to show that, like, it's a shame that it didn't have room to grow. It felt cramped. Like, it didn't get a chance to stretch its legs out and properly introduce itself to us. It was kind of just like force fed. But I mean, personally, I would have love to had maybe seen it just stretched out because it was there again. It was there. It just didn't kind of hold together.
Yeah. Maybe if it was like a monthly manga that had the chapters were longer, but it's obviously comes out less often, like Attack on
I
Titan or
think that
something.
could have definitely been a big lifeline for it.
But yeah. Any other thoughts, boys?
No, I mean, if anything, it's a little apparent that like the vibe of what we have collectively read has kind of like bled out into how we went about it because it's like, damn, where to even begin? Because it kind of felt like it didn't want to know where it wanted to begin.
Yeah.
It wanted to give us so much all at once.
Yeah, very very ambitious. But sadly, it just didn't make the cut, and
Mhm.
it got cut instead.
And I wonder if Kishimoto, because I know Kishimoto has retaken over writing for Boruto,
Mhm.
so I don't know if he's gonna ever, if he's gonna do anything else besides that, or if he's just gonna be focusing on that for now.
Honestly, I think I would assume that he would probably just focus on that because, as we touched on in the beginning, this was a bit. This had a lot of passion behind it. Like he loves samurai, he loves sci-fi stuff, he loves manga, obviously. And this probably took a lot out of him,
Yeah.
if I could guess.
But I mean, I haven't read or watched Naruto at all. But if he does end up doing anything else, I would be interested.
All right.
Yeah, I would look forward to seeing him get another go if he does decide to go at it again. Because I mean, excuse me. It's clear that like from doing something like Naruto, he has the fundamentals. I think he just needs to be given the time and hopefully get something that strikes people's longtime interest a bit more.
Yeah. I'm a little bit cynical. Like I said, I'm not a very big fan of his. So I would read at least to start off. I would read what he does next, if he does something next. And I wish him the best. But I think that's all the thoughts we have on Samurai 8 Hachimaru Den. All that's left would be to pick our next one. Don't you say, boys?
Indeed.
So while we were mulling over our last thoughts on this disjointed, overpacked, and ultimately, I guess, vague series, if that's a way to put it, I was looking at the list and I was particularly interested in double arts, not only because it allows us to kind of touch on something a little shorter and give you guys a helping of fresh content, but also because the synopsis really caught my eye.
Oh, lay it on us.
The last
So-
synopsis that caught our eye was
He has the uber male gene.
the Uberman G.
Get this. A boy and girl are forced to join hands for all eternity? Exclamation mark, question mark. In a
Gross.
land ravaged by an epidemic known as Troy. The only people with healing arts capable of stopping the seizures caused by the disease are the sisters. Although they have a high resistance to the disease, they are searching for a person who's truly immune, if they exist, so they can find a cure. The main character is Sister Elraine, one of the sisters who becomes infected with Troy. But when she touches Kiri, a seemingly ordinary boy, her seizures stop. Could he be the one? So, the reason I was caught by that is because there is no clear indicator by the art or the synopsis what kind of manga it's going to be. Because you could assume,
Yeah.
oh, maybe it's gonna be kind of like a drama, but who knows? What if it's a fucking another shonen?
Yeah, they could punch ghosts for all I fucking know.
Huh.
It could take a hard swerve into horror. Who knows?
That does sound
But-
super interesting.
All
It was
right. I
definitely
guess that's our
intriguing.
next one. Our next bounty.
Yes. So, if you want to be able to, understand everything we're talking about and everything, if you want to read this for the next chapter, go read, or for the next episode, go read Double Arts. You'll understand all we're talking about. Of course, we'll still do the rough synopsis, but we'd love to hear your thoughts if you do happen to read it.
And hopefully, the rough synopsis of Double Arts is a little more clear, and that's no fault of, our own. Not to say we're avowed of all sin, but Samurai 8 did definitely not lend itself to making any sort of clear effort on how to summarize that plot unless you read it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's that. Please stick around for the next one, everyone.
Yes.
Like and subscribe if you
Feel so
enjoyed this.
inclined?
Yeah, leave a
and,
comment if you have any thoughts on Samurai 8.
If you liked it and you think we're all idiots, tell us we're idiots.
Yeah,
maybe
do it.
tell us we're
And then
stupid.
We'll
and we're
tell
not-
you you're an idiot.
But we're also idiots.
True.
Yes.
And
We're
like
big
that,
contradictory idiots.
yes. See you guys next time.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.